What's going on, guys? At Seaver Shoots, back here with another video. I have been getting a lot of really interesting questions about comparisons between two guns that don't have a whole heck of a lot to do with each other. One is considered a subcompact gun, although I would consider it somewhere between a subcompact and a normal carry-sized gun. The other one is more of a Glock 19 sized 15-round carry gun. What I'm talking about, of course, is my SIG P365xl and my CZ75P01 Omega. Just from holding these up, you should be able to see that they are incredibly different guns. One is hammer fired, one is striker fired, curved trigger, straight trigger, single action, double action, and striker fired, 4-ish, 5-ish pound trigger. Not a lot in common, but people want me to compare features between them, and as of right now, the only thing that's similar between the two of them is the light that sits on them. So let's actually switch to a tabletop view. We're going to get away from the typical range or lawn chair review that I usually do and do a little tabletop review. Alrighty guys, so here we are on the tabletop, and here are the guns as you can see. This gives you a little bit of a size comparison. We'll do a more overlapping one in a minute. But first, I just wanted to talk about basic features. So with the 365xl and the P01, nothing is ambidextrous. Everything is one-sided except for the decocker. And this obviously does not have one, being a striker-fired pistol. So that's one thing to consider with these two. That's one way that they are similar. Then let's quickly just look at the triggers. We have our flat face trigger over here with the SIG, and we have a curved but slightly flattened out trigger over here with the P01 Omega. Obviously, this one has suppressor height sights because it comes suppressor ready. The SIG does not have suppressor height sights, but you can get suppressor ready barrels for it very easily and not at a very great cost. So the options are there. The CZ has a little bit more of a raised mag release, and the SIG's is raised, but not nearly as much, and I talk about that in the review that I did for it, where I wish that that was a little bit more extended. As far as grip textures go, this has swappable grips. I took off the factory rubber ones and put on these Cool Hand Gear grenade textured ones that I love. The SIG just comes with factory stippling from Sig Sauer, and it's pretty good. I have no complaints about the stippling itself. The CZ comes with two Mechgar magazines. Mine came with the flush fitting magazines with no base plates. I know that some come with the rubber base plates, and they don't add capacity. They are just little grip extensions, and they make it a little bit more comfortable for reloads as well. The SIG comes with two 12-round Sig Sauer magazines, which are great. I haven't had any issues with the magazines for either of these guns. Alright, so those are kind of all the places where they have similar items, but they are set apart. Now let's talk about how different they are. I think the CZ looks better. Let's start with that. They both have beaver tails, so I can't really pick on that, but I love the beaver tail on this guy. Top to bottom, I think this is just a gorgeous, good-looking pistol. From the color to the form factor, like everything about this screams streamlined, gorgeous, and ergonomic. And there's nothing on this gun, looks-wise, that I can complain about. So that's awesome. As far as the SIG goes, I also love the way that it looks, but I would like to make some upgrades to it in order to make it even more what I want. I would love a gray Cerakote similar to this, more of a sniper gray, not quite so light. I would love to get a new grip module from Gray Guns. I've handled one of their grip modules and I love the stippling on it. Not that the stippling on this is bad, but the stippling on the Gray Guns grip modules, not only does it look fantastic, but it also feels amazing. So I would love to have that upgrade. The beaver tail, I love that they added that. I'll talk about that later. Functionally, I think beaver tails are a necessity. And then the last thing that I didn't love about this pistol, as far as looks went, was the chin that it had before I put on the tactical development rail. So I really liked the rail, that it added some more aesthetic attributes to the gun, and then obviously that I could run my light. Obviously I love Inforce APLCs. That's how I feel about the way that they look. Next, let's talk about the triggers. I love both of these triggers, but for me, the trigger battle definitely goes to the SIG. I don't know what the trigger pulls at. It's probably somewhere between 4 or 5 pounds, your typical striker fired weight. It is a nice clean break. Little mush, I like the mush. I do not mind the mush. Ooh, and then the break surprises you, and it should. The reset. Nice, and then back to the wall, boom. So reset to back to the wall is very short. I love this trigger. The only thing that I don't like about this gun is the trigger. Now traditionally I love hammer-fired guns, but double single action is not kind to me. So let's go through the double action. You can watch the hammer as it goes back. It's very long, it's pretty smooth. It's not crazy. We'll go to reset for the single action. I think that some people would say that's a little long for a hammer-fired gun, but that's okay. So there's our reset, and then back, and now there's a little bit of mush before. You don't really have a wall with this. I don't mind that because that means I can't anticipate recoil. Which I'm okay with. That makes me a better shooter in the end, having that surprise trigger. But both triggers are good. The trigger battle though has to go to the SIG because it's much better, more consistent. I don't have to worry about a double action and then a single action, which again, my only gripe with this gun, but I'm not comfortable carrying it appendix single action only with the safety on. Next thing that I want to talk about where these two guys differ are magazines. So obviously I have the 15 rounder in here, and that's because that's how I carry this guy. And the SIG is 14 rounds. All right, Metgar magazine, Sig Sauer magazine, both magazines are awesome. The big difference here is that you can get extendos for this guy to take him all the way up to whatever you want, 17, 18, 19, 20 rounds, and that's really cool. And now it does extend the grip, but the grip's pretty short already, as you can see. Like, you have just enough room to get your pinky all the way on there. So extending it's not going to extend it by that much, but one thing to consider there is this gun is fatter than this one, and in my opinion, significantly so. So let's start our size comparison by comparing the widths. And I don't know if you can tell, I can. This guy is definitely skinnier than this guy. Now, to be fair, this guy is much skinnier than most carry-sized guns. It's skinnier than a Glock 19, skinnier than an M&P 2.0 compact, skinnier than an X-carry. But this is just so crazy thin. It does not print at all if you have the right holster. So while extending the grip is not a big deal on either of them because the grips are relatively short, this gun is definitely fatter than this one, which means this one will conceal not only better but more comfortably as well. So now let's look at size comparison from like a straight up on top of each other point of view. I'll go, most people do this beaver tail to beaver tail, so I'll try to do that as best as I can. And you'll notice that the SIG is significantly shorter. Let's just imagine that this had a flush fit barrel for a second. It's still quite a bit shorter than the CZ. As far as heights go, if we were using the 12 round flush fit for this guy, then it would be much shorter. But I don't think that's necessary, and I will continue to run the 15 rounders as my main magazines because of how skinny this is. You don't really notice this poking out at all. The last thing I want to talk about is beaver tails, and as far as features of the gun goes, because I think that beaver tails are a necessity. If I do a full firing grip with this guy and really dig up into that beaver tail, you'll notice how low the bore axis is on the CZ. And while that is important, I don't think it's the most important thing, but the beaver tail does allow me to get up here really high and lower that bore axis even more, which is awesome. Now if we get over here on the SIG, I can also ride up really high into that beaver tail, and I can also get a really low bore axis with my full firing grip. With the tactical development rail, I can also put my thumb on the little ridge that it provides and provide over and downward pressure. It really allows me to mitigate recoil. So the beaver tails on both of them are awesome and very helpful, and every gun should have a beaver tail. Now, when it comes to which one of these I like better, I'm going to be honest with you, I am going with the P365xl. And the reason I say that is because it's thinner, I get my 15 rounds, it's easier to conceal, it's more comfortable to conceal, it's not as long, and I shoot it way better. And at the end of the day, when you're doing a comparison between two guns, the one that you should choose is not the one you like the look of best, or the one that has the brand that you support the most. The gun that you should carry and use is the one that you shoot the best. And that's why I'm going with the P365xl. I shoot it way better than my CZ, and I think part of that is because of the difference in the triggers. I struggle with double action. I'm great with the single action, but again, I don't want to carry this thing cocked and locked in the front of my pants. This guy doesn't worry me so much. So that is my big difference between them. Although I do continue to carry both, again, I prefer this guy. I think it's more for me. It works better for me. So if you are a big CZ fanboy, don't you worry. I want to get a P10C, switch over to the striker fired side of CZ and see how that does for me. But I really like this SIG. Now, the thing to consider between the two of them is that the only thing that's different about this gun since I got it is that I put the decocker in and I threw a light on, and these grips, and the grips too, those weren't very expensive. So the changes to this have been minimal. This guy, I had to buy the extended magazine, I had to buy the tactical development rail, I had to buy the light and get it all on there. I'm going to buy a optic for it at some point, and I'm going to get a new grip module for it at some point, and maybe have it Cerakoted. So this comes more within my wheelhouse out of the box. This guy needs some work, but in my opinion, the work that you put into this will make it the perfect concealed carry gun. And it shoots so fantastically that I have a really hard time convincing myself that this is the better choice for me, even though there are a lot of reasons that I really love this gun. Let's look at holster options really quick now that we're done with gun features. This is from Odin Holsters, 2 clips and the claw. Looks really good, conceals really well. This is from DeVito's Custom. Again, 2 clips and the claw. You need the claw, get a claw. They're both optics cut, even though I probably won't ever run an optic on the CZ. I would love to one day, but don't know if that's gonna happen. They both look great, they both conceal fantastic. At the end of the day, I think the one that you should choose is the one that you shoot better, and that is how I went about making my decision. Back up top. I wanted to use this outro to talk to you guys about something. You may or may not realize this from my subscription count, but I am not a professional influencer. What that means is gun companies do not send me guns to review, and I am not sent ammo. You should have seen the hilarious rig that I had set up to give you guys that tabletop view. It was not pretty. I do not have a tripod, and the intro to this video and this outro are currently being filmed on my laptop's camera. So hopefully that gives you an idea of where I'm coming from. Odds are good I probably won't ever review a gun that sucks or that I think sucks, because my process for getting guns is I either shoot a friend's or I go to a range where I can rent the gun to test it out, decide if I like it, if I shoot it well, and then I continue forward with purchase. So I don't buy sucky guns just to review them, because I don't want to have to figure out a way to sell it after I'm done reviewing it, especially if I'm not going to carry it. Or even, I don't want to shoot a sucky gun for fun. That doesn't sound fun. All of the pistols that I review and do comparisons between are guns that I think are quality and guns that I shoot particularly well. Also, guns that don't have reliability issues. If a gun has a reliability issue, then I'm either going to return it or give the factory that sold it to me crap until they give me my money back. That's just the way that I do things. This is a hobby for me, and as of right now, I am not paid or compensated in any way. I just like to do it because it's fun. So, with that said, both of these guns, as I've said throughout the review, awesome. I will keep this. I will continue to carry it. I will continue to shoot it out of the range and try to become more proficient with the double action pull. I will keep this gun, and it will remain my main carry gun, my nightstand gun, and I will continue to upgrade it until it's exactly the way that I want it. And the fact that I can do all those things with it is the reason it's gonna stay at my number one as of right now. As I talked about earlier in the video during the tabletop, I am looking into getting a P10C. Not exactly a new gun to any of us, but I love the CZ ergonomics, and I obviously shoot striker-fired pistols better. So I'm hoping that that particular gun will be a good compromise for me. I've also heard that the reliability is great. I have shot one, and I really enjoyed the experience, and there's also a lot of things that you can do to those in order to make them better guns, better than they are right out of the box, and not for extremely great cost. So keep an eye out for that. Hoping to do that within the next couple of months. As always, if you liked this video, like and subscribe, especially if you are a new viewer. I would love that. I'd love to see my subscription count go up, not because I want to get famous or get paid by YouTube. It's nice to see that other people appreciate my viewpoints. But as always, I will catch you later.